My name is Hannah Klein, and I'm 33 years old. The banquet hall in Brooklyn was alive with music and laughter, its chandeliers casting a warm glow over tables draped in white linen. It was September 20, 2025, and my son Jonah was celebrating his bar mitzvah, a milestone that filled my heart with pride and ache in equal measure. At 13, Jonah stood tall at the bima earlier, his voice steady as he read from the Torah, his dark curls peeking from under his kippah. Now, he danced with his friends, his smile bright, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the celebration. I adjusted the sapphire earrings I'd worn for the occasion, a gift from my mother, Ruth, 62, who sat nearby, clapping along to the klezmer band. My brother, Daniel, 35, was at the bar, joking with our cousin, Miriam, 29, a photographer snapping candid shots. Jonah's grandparents, Esther, 66, and Sol, 68, chatted with Rabbi Levine, 50, whose warm presence had guided Jonah through his studies. Friends filled the room, Leah, 38, a schoolteacher with a knack for storytelling, and her husband, Aaron, 40, a quiet carpenter. The air smelled of brisket and honey cake, but a knot in my stomach kept me from eating. My ex-husband, David, 37, stood across the room, his tailored suit sharp, his smile practiced as he mingled. We'd been divorced for 8 years, a bitter split after his infidelity and lies tore us apart. Co-parenting Jonah had been a tense truce, but tonight, his presence felt heavier, his glances lingering too long. I'd caught him whispering to his sister, Rachel, 34, earlier, her eyes flicking to me with something like pity. It set my nerves on edge. The band paused, and Jonah took the microphone, his voice cracking with nerves but clear with gratitude. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his eyes finding mine. "This means everything to me and my mom." The crowd cheered, and I smiled, my heart swelling. But as Jonah stepped down, David approached, his hand grazing my arm. "Hannah, we need to talk," he said, his voice low, urgent. I frowned, stepping back. "Now? It's Jonah's day," he insisted, guiding me to a quiet corner near the coat room, his grip firm. Away from the crowd, his face hardened, his eyes cold. "He's not yours, Hannah," he said, his words a blade.
My Brit kaukt, the room tilting.
"What are you talking about?"
I demanded, my voice shaking.
David's lips curled, not quite a smile.
"Jonah.
He's not your son. Biologically." My heart stopped, the music fading to a dull roar. "You're lying," I whispered, but his eyes held a cruel certainty. "I had an affair before he was born. With Rebecca. She was pregnant. We swapped the babies at the hospital. Jonah's hers. Rebecca. His mistress during our marriage, the woman who'd shattered us." The accusation was insane, impossible, but David's calm delivery chilled me. "Why are you saying this now?" I asked, my hands trembling. He shrugged, his voice icy. "You've had him all these years, acting like the perfect mother. I thought you should know the truth." His words were a weapon, meant to wound, and they did. My vision blurred, tears threatening, but I held them back. "You're a monster," I said, my voice low. "This is a lie to hurt me." "Is it?" he said, stepping closer. "I have proof. DNA tests, hospital records. I kept them all." He pulled a folded paper from his jacket, holding it out. I didn't take it, my hands frozen. "Why now?" I repeated, my voice breaking. His smile was venomous. "Because you're happy, Hannah. You've moved on, built this perfect life with Jonah. I can't let you have that." The confession stunned me, revenge pure and calculated, for a divorce he'd caused. I turned away, my chest tight, and rejoined the party, my smile a mask. Jonah danced with Miriam, oblivious, his laughter a knife in my heart. Ruth caught my eye, her brow furrowing. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked, her hand on mine. I nodded, unable to speak. David's words echoed, "He's not yours."
Impossible.
Jonah was mine, in every way that mattered. I'd raised him, loved him, bandaged his knees, cheered at his soccer games. But doubt crept in, a poison I couldn't shake. As the party wound down, I slipped into the bathroom, locking the door. I stared at my reflection, my sapphire earrings glinting like anchors to a life I thought I knew. David's paper burned in my mind. Was it real? A DNA test could confirm or destroy everything.
I texted Daniel. Met ml tomorrow, 9 Uhr morgens, my place.
David said something awful about Jonah. I couldn't say more, not yet. My phone buzzed. Leah, saw you with David. You looked upset. Need to talk? I ignored it, my focus narrowing. If David had proof, I'd find it. If he was lying, I'd make him pay. Driving home with Jonah, his chatter about the party filled the car, but my mind was elsewhere. He fell asleep, his head against the window, and I watched him, memorizing his face. My son, no matter what David claimed. At home, I tucked him in, my heart aching.
In my room, I pulled out a box of old photos, Jonas baby pictures, hospital bracelets, my name on a Wehr document.
Nothing hinted at David's story, but his certainty gnawed at me. Rebecca. The hospital. A swap? It was madness, but I needed to know. I called Miriam, my voice low. Can you dig into something for me? Discreetly. Her photographers I missed nothing, and she had contacts in odd places. What's up? She asked, her tone serious. David said something about Jonah. I need to check hospital records, maybe Rebecca's past. She paused, then said, I'm on it. But Hannah, be careful. David's not above playing dirty. I nodded, though she couldn't see. I know. That's why I'm fighting back. As I hung up, my resolve hardened. David thought he could append my world with a cruel lie or a twisted truth. Either way, I'd uncover it. Jonah was mine, and no one, not David, not Rebecca, would take him. This wasn't just about protecting my son, it was about dismantling David's attempt to destroy me. Revenge was a fire in my chest, and I'd let it burn until the truth was ash or iron. The morning light streamed through my Brooklyn apartment's bay window, casting a soft glow on the hardwood floor where Jonah's bar mitzvah photos lay scattered. It was September 21, 2025, and the sting of David's words from last night, "He's not yours, Hannah," still burned, a wound that kept me awake until dawn. Jonah was at a friend's house, his laughter from the party a distant echo as I sat at the kitchen table, a cup of chamomile tea cooling beside me. The folded paper David had offered, claiming proof of Jonah's parentage, haunted me. I hadn't taken it, but its existence gnawed at my certainty. My phone buzzed, Daniel, confirming our 9 a.m. meeting. I'm here in 10. You okay? I texted back, not really. Bring coffee. I needed my brother's steady presence to anchor me. David's accusation was insane. A baby swap with Rebecca, his old mistress? Yet his cold confidence shook me. I pulled out Jonah's baby album, flipping through photos of his tiny hands, his first smile, my name on the hospital bracelet. He was mine in every way that mattered, but doubt crept in like a thief. Daniel arrived, his dark jacket damp from a light drizzle, 2 coffees in hand. His eyes, so like Jonah's, scanned my face with concern. You look like hell, he said, setting the cups down. I forced a smile, gesturing to the album. David said Jonah's, not mine. That he and Rebecca swapped our babies at the hospital. Daniel's jaw dropped, his coffee forgotten. That's unhinged. He's lying, Hannah. He has to be. I shook my head, my voice trembling. He says he has proof. DNA tests, records. He wants to hurt me. Daniel leaned forward, his voice firm. He's a manipulator. Always has been. But we'll check it out. Miriam's digging, right? I nodded, recounting my call to her last night. She's looking into hospital records and Rebecca's past. But Daniel, what if it's true? My voice cracked, and he grabbed my hand. It's not. Jonah's yours. We'll prove it, and we'll make David regret this. His resolve steadied me, but the fire of my own anger burned hotter. David's revenge was a calculated strike, and I'd counter it with truth. My phone pinged. Miriam, found Rebecca's last known address upstate. No hospital records yet, but I'm checking contacts. Meet me at noon, cafe on Flatbush.
My pulse quickened.
Rebecca, the woman who'd wrecked my marriage, was a ghost I hadn't faced in years. If David's story held any truth, she was the key. I showed Daniel, who frowned.
Absteht?
She's been off the grid since your divorce. This smells like a setup. I agreed, but I needed answers. We'll meet Miriam, I said. But first, I want to check David's place. David lived in a sleek condo in Dumbo, a short drive away. He'd likely be at work, giving us a window. Daniel raised an eyebrow.
Breaking and entering?
That's bold. I shook my head.
Not breaking.
I still have a key, from when Jonah stayed over. It was a risk, but David's proof might be there. Papers, tests, anything to confirm or debunk his claim. We drove over, the city's hum muted by my racing thoughts. The condo's doorman nodded, recognizing me from years of pickups, and we slipped upstairs. David's apartment was sterile, all glass and chrome, a far cry from our old shared home. His office was a small room with a locked desk drawer. Daniel, handy with tools, jimmied it open with a paperclip. Inside were files labeled personal, but nothing about Jonah or DNA. Instead, I found a letter, dated July 2025, from David to a lawyer, need to secure custody options for Jonah. Hannah's unstable, May contest.
My blood ran cold.
He's planning to take Jonah, I whispered, showing Daniel.
Hij is feestdakend.
He's building a case. This is his real game.
Wie fotograft the letter, my hands shaking.
As we closed the drawer, a creak sounded from the hallway. We froze, Daniel motioning to the door. Footsteps approached. Rachel, David's sister, her keys jangling. She stepped in, her eyes widening. Hannah? What are you doing here? Her voice was sharp, but her glance at the desk betrayed worry.
I stepped forward, my voice steady.
David said Jonah's not mine. Said he has proof.
Wer is it, Rachel?
She paled, clutching her purse. I don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be here. You were whispering with him last night, I pressed.
You know the meeting.
Rachel's eyes darted away. He's upset. About the divorce, still.
Lie it alone, Hannah.
Daniel stepped in, his voice low. If he's lying about Jonah, we'll find out.
Tell us what you know.
Rachel backed toward the door. I can't. He's my brother. She fled, leaving us with more questions than answers.
We left the condo, my mind racing.
Rachel's fear confirmed David was hiding something, but what? At the cafe, Miriam waited, her camera bag on the table, her face tense. Rebecca's in Albany, she said, sliding a notebook across. She had a kid around Jonah's birthday, September 2012, but no records of a hospital stay. It's weird, her trail goes cold after that. My stomach twisted. A kid? So David could be telling the truth. Miriam shook her head. Maybe. Or he's using her to mess with you. I'm still digging. She handed me a printout, Rebecca's last known address and a grainy photo from a 2012 social media post, showing her pregnant. My heart thudded. The timeline fit, but it didn't prove a swap. We need hospital records, I said. And David's so-called DNA test. Daniel nodded. I'll call a friend at the health department, see what we can pull. But Hannah, we need to talk to Jonah's pediatrician too. Any DNA test would have gone through them. My phone buzzed. Leah, David's been asking about Jonah's medical history. Said it's for custody prep. Be careful.
My blood ran cold.
David was moving fast, building a case to rip Jonah away. I looked at Daniel and Miriam, my voice hard. He's not just trying to hurt me. He wants Jonah. We stop him now. Miriam nodded, her eyes fierce.
Il trek Rebecca.
You get those records.
Daniel squeezed my shoulder.
We've got your back. As we left the cafe, my resolve sharpened. David's lie, or twisted truth, was a weapon, but I'd disarm it. Jonah was my son, and I'd fight with everything I had.
Tomorrow, ID confront Rebecca, dich into the hospital, and tear apart David's story.
His revenge had lit a fire, but mine would burn brighter. The drizzle had cleared by noon on September 22, 2025, leaving Brooklyn's streets slick and reflective under a pale sun. I sat in my car outside Jonah's pediatrician's office, the letter from David's desk, his plan to contest custody, burning a hole in my bag. The weight of his bar mitzvah accusation, that Jonah wasn't mine, pressed against my chest, but I clung to the certainty of my love for my son. Daniel's health department contact had come through with a lead. Hospital records from Jonah's birth in September 2012 were archived but accessible with a court order. Miriam's text from this morning lingered in my mind. Rebecca's in Albany, but her kids' records are sealed. I'm meeting a contact at the hospital today. I needed answers, and fast. Inside, Dr. Feldman, 55, greeted me with a warm smile, her office cluttered with charts and children's drawings. She'd been Jonah's pediatrician since he was born, a steady presence through fevers and checkups. "Hannah, it's been a while," she said, adjusting her glasses. "What's this about?" I took a deep breath, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at me. "David claims Jonah's not my biological son. Says he has a DNA test proving it. Have you ever run one for him?" Her brow furrowed, her hands pausing over a file. "A DNA test? No, never. Jonah's records are standard. Birth certificate, vaccinations, all with your name as mother. David never requested anything like that." Relief flooded me, but it was fleeting. Could someone else have tested him?
Without my knowledge.
Dr. Feldman shook her head. "Not through us. Any test would need parental consent, and you're listed as primary. But I'll pull his file, double-check." She stepped out, leaving me with my racing thoughts. While waiting, I texted Miriam, "Anything on Rebecca?" Her reply was quick. "Hospital contact says Rebecca gave birth same day as you, same ward. No swap records, but something's off. Staff turnover was high then."
I'm digging.
My heart thudded. The timeline was too close, David's story too plausible. I needed those hospital records, and I needed to find Rebecca. If she'd had a child, was that child mine? The thought was unbearable, but I pushed it down, focusing on Dr. Feldman's return. She handed me a thin file.
Noting unusual.
"Your name's on everything, birth, blood tests, all of it. If David has a DNA test, it didn't come from us." I nodded, clutching the file. "Can you testify to that? If it comes to court?" Her eyes softened. "Of course, Hannah.
Jonas your son."
Her words anchored me, but David's threat loomed. He was building a custody case, and his proof was still out there. My phone buzzed. "Daniel, meet me at the diner on Court Street, 2 p.m. Got something from the health department." I thanked Dr. Feldman and drove to the diner. Its retro booths and coffee sent a stark contrast to my churning thoughts. Daniel was already there, his laptop open, a manila envelope beside him. "My contact pulled strings," he said, sliding the envelope across. "Partial hospital records from 2012.
Your delivery, Rebecca's, Same D, Same Flor."
No mention of a swap, but there's a gap in the logs. A nurse quit that week, no exit interview. I opened the envelope, scanning faded printouts. My name was on Jonah's birth record, but Rebecca's delivery was listed hours later, her child's file sealed under private adoption.
My Brit kaukt.
Adoption? So she gave her baby up. Daniel nodded, his voice grim. "Or David's lying about a swap to mess with you. We need to talk to her." I agreed, but dread pooled in my gut. Rebecca was a shadow from my past, and facing her meant reliving the pain of David's affair. As we left the diner, my phone pinged. "Leah, Rachel's been asking about you. Said David's meeting a lawyer tomorrow. Be careful."
My blood ran cold.
David was moving fast, his custody threat real. I showed Daniel, who cursed. "He's not just trying to hurt you, he's trying to take Jonah." I nodded, my resolve hardening. We need Rebecca. And we need that DNA test he claims to have. Daniel pulled out his phone. "I'll call a PI friend, see if we can track her in Albany. You talk to Aaron, Leah's husband. He's good at finding people." I called Aaron, his calm voice a balm.
"Hannah, what's going on?"
I explained David's claim, my voice shaking but clear. "I need to find Rebecca, Aaron. She's in Albany, maybe tied to this. Can you help?" He paused, then said, "I've got a buddy who runs a carpentry shop up there. He knows everyone.
Il ask around."
I thanked him, hope flickering.
If Aaron found Rebecca, I kult confront her, get the truth.
Later, I met Miriam at a park near her studio, the late afternoon sun glinting off the swings where Jonah used to play. She handed me a USB drive. Hospital security footage, 2012. My contact pulled it, grainy, but it shows the maternity ward. No sign of a swap, but David's in it, talking to a nurse.
My pulse raced.
David? At the hospital? She nodded. He was there the day you gave birth. Could mean nothing, or everything.
I plugged the USB into my laptop, the footage flickering to life.
The grainy image showed a hospital hallway, nurses bustling. David appeared, his younger self Lena, talking to a nurse with short hair. They stepped out of frame, and the clip ended.
My hands trembled.
Was this the nurse who quit? Was David orchestrating something even then? We need her name, I said. Miriam nodded. I'm working on it. But Hannah, if David's got a DNA test, it's either fake or he got it illegally. My phone buzzed again. Rachel, Hannah, stop digging.
Jure making Tingsvase.
I stared at the text, anger flaring. Rachel was protecting David, but her fear hinted at cracks in his story. I replied, tell me where his proof is, or I keep going. No response came, but I felt her panic across the distance. David's lie was unraveling, but so was my world. Tomorrow, I'd go to Albany, find Rebecca, and end this. Jonah was mine, and David's revenge would burn out before mine did. The early morning mist hung low over the highway as I drove north to Albany on September 23, 2025, my hands tight on the steering wheel. Jonah was at school, oblivious to the storm David's accusation had unleashed at his bar mitzvah. The hospital security footage from 2012, showing David with a nurse, played on a loop in my mind, as did the partial records Daniel had uncovered, hinting at Rebecca's delivery the same day as mine. Her child's file, sealed under private adoption, was a puzzle piece I couldn't ignore. Miriam's latest text, sent at dawn, fueled my urgency, found Rebecca's current workplace, a diner in Albany.
She's here today.
Be careful. David's claim that Jonah wasn't mine was either a cruel lie or a devastating truth, and Rebecca held the key. Daniel had stayed in Brooklyn to meet his PI friend, who was digging into the nurse from the footage. My phone sat in the cup holder, buzzing with a new message from Aaron. My buddy in Albany says Rebecca's cagey, keeps to herself.
Works the morning shift at Sally's dinner. I exhalet, my resolve hardening.
Confronting Rebecca meant facing the woman who'd torn my marriage apart, but for Jonah, I'd do anything. The USB with the footage and the hospital records were in my bag, alongside the letter from David's desk about his custody plans.
If Rebecca kne anything, I'd get it out of here.
Sally's Diner was a squat brick building off a quiet Albany street, its neon sign flickering. I parked, my heart pounding, and stepped inside, the air thick with grease and coffee. Rebecca was behind the counter, her blonde hair tied back, her face older but unmistakable, sharp cheekbones, wary eyes. She froze when she saw me, her hands pausing over a coffee pot. Hannah, she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. What are you doing here? The diner was half empty, a few regulars at the counter, giving us space. I slid onto a stool, my voice steady despite the anger simmering inside. David told me something at Jonah's bar mitzvah. Said Jonah's not mine, that you and he swapped our babies in 2012. Her face paled, the pot clattering slightly as she set it down. He said what? Her shock seemed genuine, but I didn't trust it. He claims he has DNA tests, hospital records. Said your child was born the same day, and you swapped them. Tell me the truth, Rebecca. She leaned against the counter, her eyes darting to the door. That's insane. I had a daughter, Hannah, not a son. I gave her up for adoption. Closed, private. I never swapped anything. Her voice trembled, but her gaze held steady. I pulled out the hospital record printout, sliding it across. You gave birth the same day as me, same ward. David was there, talking to a nurse. What do you know about that? She glanced at the paper, her hands shaking.
I don't know.
David was controlling. He handled everything after the birth. I was a mess. My chest tightened, but I pressed on. Did he ever mention a DNA test? Or Jonah? Rebecca shook her head, her voice breaking.
No.
He cut me off after the adoption. Said it was cleaner that way. Hannah, I swear, I didn't know about any swap. Her tears felt real, but doubt gnawed at me. David's cruelty was calculated. Had he manipulated her, too? If you're lying, I said, my voice low, I'll find out.
Jonas, my son.
She nodded, wiping her eyes.
I believe you.
But David, he's dangerous when cornered.
I left the dinner, my mind racing.
Rebecca's story fit the records. Her daughter, adopted out, no swap mentioned. But David's confidence and the missing nurse's exit interview hinted at something darker.
My phone buzzed. Daniel, P found the nurse, Ellen Carter. Leaves in Queens now. She's skittish, won't talk without a meeting. Can you make it to nicht?
I replied, driving back now. Set it up. Ellen could confirm David's hospital visit, maybe unravel his lie, or confirm my worst fear. Back in Brooklyn by late afternoon, I met Daniel at a coffee shop near his apartment. He handed me a file with Ellen's address and a grainy photo from her old hospital ID. She quit right after your delivery, he said. The PI thinks she was paid off. Her bank account had a big deposit in October 2012.
My pulse quickened.
Paid by who?
David. Daniel shrugged. No proof yet.
But she's our best lead. I nodded, my anger flaring. If David had bribed a nurse to fake records or worse, I'd bury him. We drove to Queens, Ellen's small house tucked in a row of modest homes. She answered the door, her short hair now gray, her eyes wary. "You're Hannah Klein?" she asked, her voice tight. I nodded, holding up the USB. "I have footage of you with David at the hospital, September 2012. He says he swapped my son with another baby."
What do you know?
Ellen's face drained of color, her hand gripping the doorframe. "I can't talk about that," she whispered, but her fear was answer enough. Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Ellen, we're not here to hurt you. But David's trying to take my nephew. If you know something, tell us." She hesitated, then let us in, her living room cluttered with knitting and old photos. "David paid me," she admitted, her voice barely audible. $10,000, to keep quiet about a meeting. He said it was about adoption papers, nothing illegal. I didn't ask questions, I needed the money.
My heart raced.
"A meeting with who?" "Rebecca."
Ellen shook her head.
"I don't know her name. But David was in the records room, late at night. I let him in." I exchanged a glance with Daniel, my blood chilling. David in the records room, tampering with files? Did he change anything? I asked. Ellen shrugged, her eyes downcast. "I didn't see. I quit the next week, moved here."
I'm sorry, Hannah.
Her apology felt hollow, but it was a lead. David had access to records, enough to fake a DNA test or plant doubt. I handed her my card.
If you remember a meeting, call me.
This is about my son. As we left, my phone buzzed. "Leah, David's at his lawyer's office now. Rachel's with him. They're talking custody." My anger surged. He was moving faster than I'd thought, building a case while I chased ghosts.
I texted Miriam, a meeting more on Rebecca?
Her reply was quick, found her adoption agency contact. "They're stonewalling, but I'm pushing." I looked at Daniel, my voice hard. "We need that DNA test. And we need to confront David before he files anything." He nodded, his eyes fierce. "Tomorrow. We'll hit him where it hurts." Driving home, Jonah's face filled my mind, his smile, his voice at the bima. David's lie was a weapon, but I was arming myself with truth. Rebecca's denial, Ellen's confession, the hospital footage, it was enough to fight back. Tomorrow I'd face David, and his revenge would crumble before mine. The Brooklyn sky was heavy with clouds on September 24, 2025, as I stood outside David's Dumbo condo, the USB drive with the hospital footage and the custody letter from his desk clutched in my bag. Jonah was at school, his bar mitzvah joy a distant memory under the weight of David's accusation that he wasn't mine. Rebecca's denial in Albany, Ellen's confession about David's hospital tampering, and the sealed adoption records had built a case, but not enough to silence the doubt David had planted. Daniel stood beside me, his jaw set, his PI's latest report in hand. David's lawyer had filed a preliminary custody motion yesterday, citing new evidence of Jonah's parentage. My anger burned white-hot, but I kept it leashed. Today, we'd confront David and end his game. Miriam's text from an hour ago had sealed our plan, got the nurse's name from the adoption agency. Ellen Carter signed off on Rebecca's paperwork, not yours.
No swap evidence.
It was a lifeline, but David's so-called DNA test loomed. We buzzed his intercom, my heart pounding. He answered, his voice clipped. Hannah?
What do you want? I steadied my voice.
To talk. About Jonah. Let us in. The door clicked open, and we climbed the stairs, the sterile glass and chrome of his condo feeling colder than ever. David stood in his living room, his suit rumpled, a glass of whiskey in hand despite the morning hour. Rachel was there, her face tense, her purse clutched like a shield. This is harassment, David said, his eyes narrowing. Get out. I held up the USB, my voice calm but sharp. Not until you explain this.
Hospital Footage, 2012. You, in the records room with Ellen Carter. Planning a swap?
Or just faking it to hurt me? His face flickered, but he smirked.
You're grasping, Hannah. Jonas not yours.
I have the test to prove it. Rachel shifted, her eyes darting to David. Stop this, she whispered, but he ignored her. I pulled out the custody letter, tossing it on the coffee table. And this? You're trying to take him, claiming I'm unstable. But you're the one who paid Ellen to tamper with records. Daniel stepped forward, his voice low. We talked to her, David. She admitted the payoff. 10 grand to keep quiet about your meeting. What were you doing in that records room? David's smirk faltered, his hand tightening on the glass.
You're bluffing. Ellen's a nobody.
I held his gaze, my voice cutting. She's ready to testify.
SOS Rebecca.
She says there was no swap, just an adoption.
Your story's falling apart.
Rachel's face crumpled, and she grabbed David's arm. Tell them, David. Tell them it's a lie. He shook her off, his voice rising.
Shoot up, Rachel.
This is about justice. Hannah doesn't deserve Jonah. Justice? His words ignited my fury. You cheated, lied, broke our family, and now you're rewriting history to hurt me, I said, stepping closer.
Show me the DNA test, David.
Now. He hesitated, then pulled a folder from a drawer, tossing it at me. There. Read it and weep. I opened it, my hands steady despite the dread. The document claimed Jonah's DNA matched Rebecca's, not mine, dated June 2025. But the lab's name was unfamiliar, and the signature was illegible. Daniel snatched it, scanning the pages. This is from a shady lab, no accreditation. You faked it, didn't you? David's eyes darted away, and Rachel broke. He did, she whispered, tears spilling. He paid a guy to forge it. I told him to stop, but he wanted to punish you, Hannah. David turned on her, his face red. You traitor. But Rachel stood her ground.
You're wrong, David. Jonas has. You know it.
My heart soared, but I kept my focus.
You forgot a test to steal my son, Isaid, my voice eyes.
The hospital records, Ellen's testimony, Rebecca's adoption, they all prove Jonah's mine.
You're done.
David's face twisted, but before he could speak my phone buzzed. Leah, police at David's lawyer's office. They got a tip about the forged test. I showed Daniel, who grinned. Miriam's PI came through. David lunged for the folder, but Daniel blocked him. It's over, I said, holding up my phone with the hospital footage cued. The DA has this, and Ellen's statement. You lose. Sirens wailed outside, and David's face drained of color. Police knocked, entering with a warrant for the forged document. Rachel sobbed, stepping aside as they cuffed David, his curses fading as they led him out.
I'm sorry, Hannah, Rachel whispered.
I nodded, too drained to respond.
Back home, Isat with Jonah, highest bar Mitzvah album open.
He looked at me, his eyes curious. "Mom, what's going on with Dad?" I took his hand, my voice soft. "He made a mistake, sweetheart. Tried to hurt us. But you're mine, always." He hugged me, his trust unwavering. Miriam and Daniel joined us, their support a lifeline. The DA charged David with fraud and harassment, his custody bid dead. Rebecca sent a letter, confirming her daughter's adoption and no swap, her words heavy with regret. By November, I stood in Jonah's room, watching him sleep, the sapphire earrings from his bar mitzvah glinting in the mirror. David's revenge had been a cruel spark, but my truth had doused it. Jonah was mine, in every way that mattered, and our family was whole. The scars remained, but love healed them, stronger than any lie.